Hey there, welcome to the Kim Constable podcast. Nobody cares, work harder. What have I got for you today? Well, another interview actually. I've been really enjoying doing the interviews recently and you guys seem to have been enjoying them too. So I'm just going to keep pumping them out for as long as it suits us both. And today we have the fabulous Meaghan Murphy on the podcast. Now, Meaghan and I met about 18 months ago, quite by accident, whenever I went to an event in New York, and she was one of the speakers on the panel. And I was actually up on the stage pitching to the speakers as part of the media event that was being held. And afterwards, I wrote to Meaghan and I thanked her for, her critique and her feedback, as I did with all of the people who were on the panel. And she wrote back to me and was like, "Oh my God, I loved you. I thought you were amazing, blah, blah, blah." And then I said, and she said, "And I loved your shoes." And I was like, "Well, send me your address and your shoe size and I will send you a pair." So I immediately phoned home and I got my assistant to go and pick up a pair of the shoes in her size, which were incredible, sparkly. They were black actually, with sparkles and green and emeralds and diamonds. Oh my God, they were incredible. And we sent them to her, and she and I are now shoe twins because she has them and I have them, and we just connected over shoes, as you do. So Meaghan and I have stayed in touch ever since. She was executive editor, I think she said, of Good Housekeeping magazine at the time. She is now editor-in-chief of Women's Day magazine. She's worked for Hearst magazines for many, many years, and her story really is quite phenomenal. And the reason why I wanted to have her on the podcast today is because she has just released a brand new book called Your Fully Charged Life, which is a radically simple approach to having endless energy and filling every day with yay. And let me tell you, Meaghan is actually one of the happiest, most upbeat, most positive people I've ever met in my entire life. And not only that, all of her strategies are backed by science and they are completely doable and they're just fabulous. And I think that it's something that everybody could have a little more of in their lives, which is a little more yay. But also her strategies are phenomenal for helping you to find motivation, to show up, to do the work, and to just get on and achieve your goals, which is what many people are actually lacking in their lives. So that's specifically why I wanted to have Meaghan on the podcast. This is like a masterclass in motivation. And you do not want to miss this episode. If you've ever struggled with feeling, down, if at the minute with, the whole COVID and lockdowns, you're feeling a little bit not yourself or a little bit out of sorts or a little bit depressed, or if you just want to have a little more motivation in your life, you are not going to want to miss this episode. And of course, you're going to want to pick up a copy of her book, which is Your Fully Charged Life by Meaghan Murphy, Meaghan. But anyway, listen to the podcast and you will just hear how amazing she is. And I will talk to you guys again at the end. And before I go actually to the interview with Meaghan, don't forget that if you want to win one of our Sculpted Vegan programs, including the $1,500 Sculpt and Shred, all you have to do is leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast, take a screenshot, send me the review or the screenshot of the review on Instagram, and you will be entered into the monthly draw to win one of our programs. So let's go and chat to Meaghan, and then I will chat to you again at the end. Meaghan Murphy, I am just delighted to finally have you on the podcast because we were talking about doing this. When was it? Like a year and a half ago or something,
I think?
When
you sent me the most amazing, sparkly, incredible shoes ever. Now I don't leave the house and I'm only basically in slippers. So I just look at them longingly and think someday I'll leave the house again. I literally I have like my mama bear slippers. And that's become my footwear of choice. It's either sneakers because I'm working out or mama bear slippers.
I know, I'm feeling you, sister. I'm feeling exactly the same way. But I'll tell you, why I wanted to have you on the podcast today, because you have finally released your book, which you were telling me about like a year and a half ago. And I was like, I'm going to have you on the podcast when it's released. And it has been released to absolutely incredible reviews. I have ordered my copy, so I'm disgusted that I haven't read it yet, having you here on the podcast. But I really wanted to talk about the book, and it's called Your Fully Charged Life, a radically simple approach to having endless energy and filling every day with yay, which is so close to my own heart because I am such a positive and upbeat person. So I just thought, let's get Meaghan on here. Let's teach all my listeners how it is that you live each day that way, because you truly do, because I follow you on Instagram and I see all your stuff. And I just really want to dig into your backstory and see, how you came to be this way. But tell us, first of all, like, what is it like being a published author? Is this your first book?
It's pretty surreal. So today is I feel like a new mom, and I have 3 kids, but I feel like a new mom. So today is like the 2-week anniversary of my book baby. And I find myself telling everyone about the milestones as if it was like a new child. Like, when you set up the little blocks and be like, we're 2 weeks old today, we're 3 months old. Like, I'm that. It is like a baby and I'm a new mom. And it is a very surreal feeling.
But it is like having a baby though, because like how long did it take you to write the book?
3 years.
Yeah, like
It was a 3-year process. I mean, it was 20 years in the making because it's informed by all my years as a service journalist and my own transformation. But I mean, the actual physical getting an agent, signing a book deal, writing the proposal, writing the book, it's been a 3-year journey.
Wow. But of course, you are in the right industry, I would guess. You know all the right people because you are currently editor-in-chief of Women's Day magazine. But whenever I met you, it was Good Housekeeping magazine. Tell us about that. Like, tell us about what it is that you do on a daily basis.
So right now I took over Women's Day at the very beginning of lockdown here in the States. So I left Good Housekeeping, where I had been executive editor for 6 years, and took over the head job at Women's Day. But I took over the job from my kitchen table. I've never met my team. I've never moved out of my Good Housekeeping office. And I was tasked with re-energizing and reimagining the magazine, which was really, really fun because I basically fully charged it. That's exactly what I did. We call it Destination Celebration now. No party left, no holiday left behind from Taco Tuesday to Christmas. And it really is a party on every page and a joyful celebration of life. We say we look at everything through a fun filter, and we give you news you can use, but we do it in a fun way, which is exactly what I do with the book. So I've fully charged Women's Day. That's exactly what I've done.
I want to know, right? How did you get to be that way? Like, what was your childhood like? Anyone who listens to this podcast will know I'm always digging into people's childhoods because the way I look at it is we are shaped and cultivated as children. And quite often we have experiences, sometimes negative, sometimes positive, which and negative experiences can cause us to say, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to be that way and to go this way. And also positive experiences can then carry on throughout our lives. Have you ever done any kind of inner child or work to figure out why you are the way you are?
I'm not the way I am. I trained to live this way, the same way I've trained for a marathon or I've trained to see my abs again. I trained to live this way with positivity and optimism. My nickname as a kid was Grumpy. I wore a necklace that was Grumpy the Dwarf from the 7 Dwarfs that my parents gave me, and I wore it proudly because I was a really miserable kid. We wrote a 5th grade play, and I wrote my own character, and the character was called Neggy, and it was the embodiment of negativity. And that's how I lived my life. I was an angsty, miserable kid. I would have a soccer game and I'd say, well, we're definitely going to lose. And hopefully I don't tear my ACL too. And then it'd be like, we're going to Disney World. Well, why would anyone want to do that? There's going to be lines. It's going to be hot. That sounds terrible. I mean, I was an angsty, miserable little kid, which led to some angsty, miserable teen years. I was a raging anorexic, so I had very big feelings and I didn't know how to handle them. So I stopped eating to sort of quiet that inner pain and that inner turmoil. And I'm good at things. So I landed myself in the hospital. And my best friend and I were tandem anorexic. So we both were suffering together. Our parents were best friends, and her parents reached out to my parents and said, okay, we're going to put so-and-so in this program with you. I called her on the phone from the hospital bed and was like, it's not that bad. Come and join me. We got this. No big deal. And en route to the hospital, she jumped out of the car and died. And now I'm 16. I'm living with a raging, debilitating eating disorder that has landed me in the hospital. And now I've lost my best friend and feel incredibly guilty and tormented over her death and the circumstances surrounding her death. So those were some very, very tough formative years. I had a very middle-class, supportive family, but now as a mom, I can't even imagine what it was like to parent me. When you don't want to lose your child, you're afraid they're going to die, nothing is working, and they're so inherently miserable. It was scary, hard times.
Oh my God.
And I wrote about it. And that was the secret sauce. I made my message. Words and writing have always been very healing for me. And I wrote a very powerful essay about my adversity. And it wound up, my teacher encouraged me to submit it to a Horatio Alger National Scholar Contest. And I won a $10,000 scholarship. And I was then featured on a national television special, and Bob Costas and Don Johnson were the hosts, and Trisha Yearwood performed, and I got a lot of national attention. And that then landed me a magazine opportunity. YM Magazine, which was Young and Miss, Young Modern at the time, approached me and said, "We'd love to tell your story." And I said, "Well, that's cool, but I want to write it myself. And I'd like to be an intern. I can start on Monday." And I was so ballsy, it worked. I mean, like, and the thing is, I wasn't ballsy because I was ballsy. I was ballsy because I didn't know any better. I was like, no, I totally want to be, I kind of believe everything is always possible. It's sort of one of my mantras in life. But so I started as an intern there while I was then in college studying acting. And I wound up then having a hosting gig on MTV while working at YM, and that landed me a Teen People magazine. I was one of the co-founding editors of Teen People magazine, and my career kind of grew from there. But the interesting part, it was all born from heartache and adversity and tragedy. And I always say that to people: if you can understand that in all adversity there are gifts, and they can be tough to unwrap, but when you do, good things can happen. And having made my mess my message, I really credit that for my subsequent success. I've had a pretty strong magazine career from that. Mm-hmm. And it was then, so I founded Teen People. I'm working on MTV. And that's when I then went to Cosmopolitan magazine after a quick stint at Victoria's Secret on the curative team, launching the Pink line. And, working for Delia's, which was a clothing brand, launching their teen properties and websites. Mm-hmm. But then I landed at Cosmopolitan magazine. And some of my biggest transformation happened there, which is crazy because you're like, okay, what, you wrote about blowjobs and how to please your man? Like, why was that so transformative? Surreal, right? Yeah. But at my tenure at Cosmo, I was assigned an article. So as a senior editor, your boss will say, okay, you're writing an article on the 7 secrets of happiness. And I completely rolled my eyes because I'm like, who wants to read that crap? I was a functioning human at this point, but I wasn't a unicorn farting rainbows at that point. Like, I was a functioning human being who had overcome an eating disorder, but I was still a hot mess. And my negativity bias was still incredibly strong. But in writing and reporting and researching this article, The 7 Secrets of Happiness, I started to look at the field of positive psychology. I looked at Martin Seligman and some of his research, started to look at neuroscience and neuroplasticity. And for the first time, I had this moment of, some people are happy and they live happy. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that mean? What would it mean to not be miserable? And then I had this sort of awakening that happiness wasn't this passive state of being. It was an active state of doing. And that people who were truly happy were making choices, taking action steps, doing things every day to prioritize positivity that enabled them to live happier. Mm-hmm. And it seemed intriguing, but it wasn't like I had this Oprah aha moment of like, and that's what I'm going to do. Right. It was like, that's a possibility. Mm-hmm. And I began to entertain. Exactly. Like, oh, okay. I sort of liken it to exercise sometimes. Like, if you've never had an exercise high, or you've never really felt how good it feels to feel strong and healthy and in charge of your body, you don't know what you're missing. Mm-hmm. If you've been this miserable rain cloud your whole life and you have never experienced joyful doing the other side, you have absolutely no idea what you're missing. And it's not that, intriguing. But once you get a taste and you realize how good you could feel, then it becomes, addictive and a way of life. So from there, I moved on to Self magazine, which is, it's sort of a wellness Bible. And I was the fitness director there. So I'm a certified trainer, kettlebell spin, American Council on Exercise certified trainer for 17 years. And there I was the fitness director and the deputy editor. And at Self magazine for 9 years, I coached hundreds of thousands of women to lead their best lives through exercise, through diet. I hope you can you hear the vacuum going? I finally have a cleaning person back after like a bazillion years.
That's so funny. It is
It's
in the
not me
background.
vacuuming. It's somebody's vacuuming and it's not me.
And that is a cause for celebration.
It truly is. I mean, that's a good day. But so as the fitness director and the deputy editor of Self Magazine, I was coaching people how to live their best lives and helping to motivate them, helping to put them on better eating plans and helping them to work out. And that's really where I got sort of addicted to helping people. I loved seeing people reach their goals and live their best lives. And in the process, because at every magazine I've ever worked at, I've used myself as a guinea pig and tested all the tips and tricks, et cetera, on myself. And it was there that, the seeds of the fully charged life really started to take hold. And that change really started to happen for me. And as I started to live happier, it's exactly when I wound up marrying my husband and having 3 kids and really building my life. I talk about my 9 years at Self Magazine as my self-formative years, because that's when all the good stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I was prioritizing positivity and learning to live more optimistically and accepting joy and understanding that I deserved that. And that was a pretty great way to live. And then I moved on to Good Housekeeping magazine, because that's exactly how my life works. I basically work at the magazine of my life stage. So I will be a retirement magazine at some point, because the second I had my 3rd kid and bought a house in the suburbs and got like a fence and a swing set, that's exactly when I went to Good Housekeeping. And I was the executive editor there for 6 years. And I was like a hack master, home expert, really just touching everything and really enjoying myself. But that's also when tragedy struck again. And my beloved father, who I dedicated my book to, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And it was stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Now my dog is trying to jump.
Don't worry, here, listen.
Home life. So
we have a lot of women listen to this, and they have kids, they have dogs,
right.
They have there's always crashing and banging and doors going and dogs barking. I interviewed JP Sears last week, and his dog barked continually throughout it. I was like, just let the dog bark, JP. It's really not a big deal.
Dempsey just needs to know what I'm doing at all times.
Yeah, I get it. Don't worry.
He's definitely trying to bang down the door. Okay, good. Oh wait. So then what? Oh, then that's when my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and that was a tough blow because he was my biggest cheerleader. He really, really relentlessly believed in me, and that was tough. I had 3 little kids, and I was just in a bad place. And I tell this story because I went to chemo with him one day, and I think that I'll say it, there are gifts in all adversity. Mm-hmm. And the gift of terminal cancer or a terminal illness is that you do get to try on the idea of life without that person and losing that person. And you get to have tough moments, tough conversations, important conversations. And I went to chemo with him, and I was like, Dad, I have not given up hope. I love you with all my heart. But how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? And we had this conversation and through tears, and it was hard, but he was very specific about how he wanted to be remembered. And in that moment, I also understood that I had a chance to ask that of myself without a terminal cancer diagnosis. And it became very clear to me in that moment that how I wanted to be remembered was for a legacy of positive energy, and a legacy of positive energy that I was now cultivating. And I was changing, and I had strategies and science in place that were backing up this transformation. And I wanted to be able to give that to other people. And it was in that moment where I absolutely declared to myself that you're writing this book, and this book is important, and this book is your legacy. And from there, I was on a mission. I love
it. And the thing is, I love what you're saying, because it reminds me, I guess, of similarly of my story in bodybuilding in many ways. I think that once you've gone through the transformation and you've seen both sides, I think, for many people, they live their lives and they're happy and they're joyful and they're on this steady kind of plane the whole time. And so they don't really ever fully go through a transformation in themselves that then they want other people to have. I had that transformation with bodybuilding. I was finally able to solve my own problem, if you like. And it sounds like that's what it is. You've seen both sides. You've been there. what it's like to live on this side. And you also, I would imagine, have had these incredible experiences once you decided to change. And actually, let me segue for a second, Meaghan, and say, I think that this will be profound for many women listening to this podcast, because many people don't realize that they can actually decide to be happy, decide to change their state, decide to live a more joyful life, can make decisions on that. Can you talk a little bit more about that for someone who would be struggling with that or hasn't had that recognition?
Yeah. Well, and I think so. Your fully charged life is not a happiness handbook. It's a happiness toolkit. And the key is to understand that none of us need a major life makeover or life overhaul. There are simply things, tiny little things that we can do every day to move the happiness needle. Mm-hmm. And it's simpler than you think. So my whole book is based in positive psychology. It's based in Martin Seligman's PERMA theory of happiness and wellness. And what's fascinating about the field of positive psychology, it wasn't until the late 1990s where psychology even looked at what's right with people and what helps people flourish. Before then, it was like, okay, what's wrong with people and how do we fix it? Positive psychology says, what's right with people and how do we emulate that? Mm-hmm. And what he talks about is the PERMA theory. And then that is, the P stands for positive emotions. And that's positive emotions you cultivate through things like love and gratitude and a zest for life. The E is for engagement. What do you care about? What gets you up in the morning? Is it a hobby? Is it community service? What are you engaged with? What do you care about? The R is for relationships. And that might be arguably the most important piece of the happiness puzzle. How do you relate to the people around you? Not just the people who live in your home or the people closest to you, but how do you relate to strangers? How do you get an energizing jolt from the people around you that might not be related to you? Then the M is meaning. And how do you create meaning in your life? Because you have to have some purpose. You can't be happy if you don't have some purpose. And then finally is A for accomplishment and a sense of accomplishment. What are you doing that makes you feel proud? You have to have some level of accomplishment. And so what I do is I give tips and tricks and strategies and examples of how to live that way in your own life. And I make it simple through the different areas of your life. So I look at the positive charge. I look at the health charge. I look at the work charge, how to find a job you love. And if it is just a paycheck, how to find meaning outside of that so that you can build happiness. But at the core of all of this, tomorrow could be more awesome for all of us. And it simply starts by prioritizing positivity. And there are daily habits that all of us can adopt to move the happiness needle. Mm-hmm. I break it down. I mean, it's very, 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 very simple. If you make your bed today, you're inching toward happiness, because having that simple sense of accomplishment first thing in the morning can propel you to a really great day, a day that's filled with accomplishment and purpose. Getting dressed in the morning. I mean, I don't know, here during lockdown and the pandemic, everybody was like wearing sweats and not showering or changing from pajamas to pajamas. Guess what? When you dress up, you feel up. When you comb your hair and put on a swipe of mascara, you feel better. You carry yourself differently. When you improve your posture, we have this thing called embedded cognition. When you stand up straighter, guess what? It impacts your mood. It makes your mood stronger and more powerful. When you buy yourself flowers, there's great research around having fresh cut flowers in your house. Harvard researchers said, guess what? A bouquet of flowers can actually ease anxiety. Get the scissors and get into the yard. Finding a reason to celebrate every day, whether it's Taco Tuesday or National S'mores Day. Who cares if they're manufactured holidays? Those things aren't frivolous. We need to put happy on the calendar on a daily basis and not just birthdays and anniversaries. Every day there needs to be a reason to celebrate.
Do you think that many people are living reactively and not proactively from what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really, it's very simple to feel stuck right now. There's so much crap around us. And living fully charged means you're not Pollyanna with some rose-colored glasses. You're absolutely acknowledging what sucks. You just don't get stuck there. Right. You can have bad days and you own your bad day and you scream and cry and shout about your bad day, but you're not stuck there because you know that there is one action step forward, one way through, and it's small. Because it can be as simple as making your bed.
Right.
It can be as simple as calling it Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's very simple, because once you take one positive action step, it propels you to take another and another and another. And then you have this spiral of positivity.
I love it. I want to ask you a specific question, actually, and it's something that we haven't discussed. And you're like, "Fuck, Kim, you're throwing me in at the deep
No,
end
I don't
here."
care.
But we have a lot of fitness. Obviously, you would probably know this. Obviously, of course, being a fitness enthusiast, a personal trainer, and having worked in that area for a long time, we obviously have a lot of fitness people and aspiring bodybuilders, people who purchase my programs who listen to this podcast. How could your strategies be applied to someone who's struggling to, a lot of what people struggle with is motivation, and we're running a challenge, actually, a 5-day challenge. It's starting on Monday. We've had 7,000 people sign up for it already. And we did a poll in the group to see what people were struggling with most. And the one thing they struggle with the most is motivation. It's the highest by far. They just I just can't motivate myself. What advice would you have for someone like that? Just throwing you completely in at the deep end.
So the whole health charge chapter of my book really talks about the importance of movement and protecting your sleep. Because if you don't move your body and you don't protect your sleep, you will always be drained. I have a lot of motivation secrets, and I think a huge piece of that is accountability, starting with joining a program like yours and being accountable to each other. I'll often, tweet or post on Instagram, okay, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., I'm doing X, because I don't want to let people down. If I've said it out loud, now I'm committed to doing it. So what does that look like for you? How can you publicly broadcast your intentions so that somebody holds you accountable to them? Who is that workout buddy? Is there somebody virtually that you team up with who is holding your hand through this and you don't want to let them down? I feel like when I fun filter things, it's much easier to stick with. Music is one of my best motivators, and there's so much good science around the the motivational magic of music. Like, how do you put your intentions to a playlist? What is the soundtrack of your sound transformation? What motivational mantra is in your ear? I mean, I've got a bunch of different ones. When I'm feeling very overwhelmed, it's stay in your day. When I want to poop out on a run, it's you're stronger than you think you are. What are those words you tell yourself? And how do you broadcast those words? Do you put them on a t-shirt? Do you put them on a mug? Do you go to Zazzle.com and make sneakers? I have sneakers that say fully charged, fully charged. With every step, I am committing to being fully charged.
And I love that because, whenever you put that out there, because I knew that about you, first of all, everything was always fully charged. That was your mantra. And I would always see it on your Instagram, and I seen the lightning bolts on the back wall behind you. And of course, then you would always post on your Instagram, people were sending you fully charged earrings and fully charged sweaters and everywhere, and every time I saw a lightning bolt, I thought of you. And there was one day, actually, someone delivered a whole bunch of sneakers to the house. My husband represents rugby players. I don't know why they delivered them, but anyway, there were these black sneakers, and all over them, they had these little black lightning bolts. And I was like, I'm going to send a pair of these to Meaghan, but they didn't have them in your size because they knew what size you were from sending in the shoes.
You're the best.
I was like, I'm going to send these to Meaghan because, you'd put it out there. You were like, this is how I live my life. It was out there. Exactly. It was energetically in the universe. And even from all the way over in Ireland, I was thinking about, you every time I saw a lightning bolt. It's kind of like the quote, which I always loved, which says, where your thoughts go, energy flows, or where attention goes, energy flows. It's like where you put your attention, that is where the energy will flow. And I love the music one. I actually have a song. It's Kylie Minogue. Well, she's not Minogue anymore. She's just Kylie now. I'm old enough to know her as Kylie Minogue. And
Same.
It's Time Bomb. So the song Time Bomb, I don't know why I have a link with that song, but I used to whenever I did posing practice, I used to pose to it. So every time I used to go in and do my posing practice, I used to put on my earphones and I used to crank that up because you have to get yourself in the mood to kind of feel sassy, for posing practice for the stage. And so every time I put that song on, I just have like this Pavlovian link of like, I'm like, getting like feeling charged. And I know Amy Porterfield, who I interviewed in the podcast a few weeks ago, she has the same thing with a song, Journey, Don't Stop Believing. She puts it on before all of her webinars. And so I love that. I think that that's something I've never thought of before, but especially for fitness, people who can't motivate themselves, create some kind of Pavlovian link where when you hear that song.
Like for me, I'm like not a huge Britney Spears song, but that one song where she's like, it's Britney, bitch. Yeah. And I do that to myself. I'm like, it's Meaghan, bitch.
With Will I Am.
When I need to kick myself in the ass, like that's on repeat for me. And there's really sound science behind that power of music to motivate you. So I think that's something really worth looking at And also like just putting your message front and center. If it's a tank top or it's a whatever it is. I mean, when I was grieving my father, I wore a tank top to the gym every day that said, "You're stronger than you think you are," or "fierce," or whatever it is that I need it to be in that moment, because sometimes you do have to fake it till you make it. And that's also okay.
Yeah. What kind of woman are you hoping to reach with the book? Who do you imagine in your head is going to read this and is going to change?
I love that it is for everyone. Yesterday I got a message from a 70-year-old man who was like, "I love your book. I love your message. There's so much really great science, but I love all the anecdotes." And he's like, and then he said, "Your father would be so proud." And I lost it. He doesn't know me. We're not related. And getting those kind of messages from people who have been impacted by the advice, because I think the secret sauce of the book is that I've been a magazine editor and a service journalist here in the States for 25 years. So what I'm good at is taking the science and making it fun filtered so that it's stuff you might actually do in real life and you can see the application of the science. So if it's cognitive reappraisal I'm talking about, I'm going to call it Reframe What's Lame. And I'm going to give you 5 examples for how to do that so that there's more of a how and that way through. I'm getting lots and lots of moms, people who are feeling that pandemic crush and are just at a low and feeling stuck. I'm also getting teenagers, which has been really fun. The book is reaching thousands and thousands of people, and it's only 2 weeks old, but that's been really, really, I mean, it's just incredible. It's such a neat feeling to have my 4th child out in the world and to get such a positive response from such a diverse group of people who are being impacted by the advice. Because again, that's what I felt called to do, was to share this secret sauce, because my transformation was so dramatic and it feels so good. And I don't want to be selfish about that.
Yeah. What was your biggest failure and what would you say you learned from it?
I mean, I've had lots of failures, and the biggest learn is when you can laugh at them. I was up for the editor-in-chief job of Women's Health magazine, and it was such a blow. It was between me and one other person. And when I didn't get that job, it felt like a kick in the stomach. Like I spent my entire Christmas holiday working on my proposal and my treatment for the reimagining of, I mean, I put blood, sweat, and tears into that, and then down to the wire, and it went to someone else. And the person who didn't hire me said "onward" as I left her office after basically getting kicked in the teeth. And I was like, "You're absolutely right. The only way through is onward." And I took that, and it propelled me forward. It made it clearer than ever that the book needed to happen. It made it clearer than ever that my purpose was even bigger than magazines. And so it was like, I mean, it bruised the ego a little at the time, but there was such a gift in that, because it absolutely, truly made me realize I had to focus more effort on the book.
So when someone fails, what's your advice then? So, because I think that does happen a lot. I think that, and again, I wanted to have you on here specifically because we do, like I said, have a lot of fitness people who listen to this, and one of the things that they struggle with the most is, well, 2 things actually. The first one is expectations. We're constantly battling people's expectations. They join, say, an 8-week butt camp or a 4-week shred, and they have this expectation in their mind of how they're going to look or how they're going to be. And quite often their expectation is not in line with reality. And so we have to try and, get them to manage their expectations. But ultimately then what happens whenever they don't meet their expectations is failure. And so it's about how to then not, we always said, like, if one tire, if you got a puncture in your car, you wouldn't get out and slash the other 3 tires. You would fix the puncture and move on. It's good, isn't it? I don't know where I heard it. Like I think I got it in a book somewhere, but it was great.
Makes sense.
So what would be your advice for someone like that? Someone who, who has a failure like that and really is feeling down and upset and like they can't pull themselves out of it?
Well, I talk about this a lot in the book. I'm an expert mistake maker. In fact, I enjoy making mistakes, and I also enjoy being awful at things. And I think that it's okay to suck at certain things or to suck at an aspect of a program and to have a bad day and realize that doesn't make you a bad person. I think being grounded in a present moment is often incredibly helpful. So instead of looking at the outcome of the program, you're looking at what you can do today. and taking charge of today. Because frankly, all we ever really have is today. So
That's
what
true.
choices did you make today? Did you do your workout today? Did you, fuel your body properly today? And then what does that look like tomorrow? Because if you did it today, it'll look better tomorrow. It'll be easier tomorrow. But really baby stepping through each day versus focusing on this end result that might be elusive and might even not even be the end result that you actually need or that is actually going to make you feel good. I think the more we can practice being present and grounded in the today, the easier tomorrow gets.
I agree. Would you consider yourself to be spiritual in any way?
It's interesting. I don't consider myself to be woo-woo. Like, if you gave me sage, I'd probably burn it, but I'm not walking around with crystals in my pocket.
Right.
I think I'm a bit of a realist, but relentlessly optimistic as well, which sometimes makes me seem a little bit more spiritual or woo-woo than I am. I believe in the energy of the universe. I believe that energy connects us. I believe that energy is contagious. And then I do believe that the more good you put out, the more good you get back.
Yeah, it's almost identical to the way I think as well, because my family are all deeply spiritual. And they always say to me, oh, we know that you're not really into this. And I always go, it's not that I'm not into it. It's that I get a lot more out of believing that I am the causing agent of my life rather than the universe is or some angel that's guiding me.
It's empowering. And that said, I believe that my father comes to me in cardinal form, and I get very excited when I see a cardinal. There's those moments of I believe there's something clearly bigger than me and clearly bigger than my feelings. But I also don't feel, even though my kids go to Catholic school, that if I say 5 Hail Marys, everything's going to be okay.
Right.
I know that I have to make it okay. I believe that the choices I make today will make it okay.
Yeah,
but I own that.
That's how it feels for me too. I think that I'm not against anyone who is deeply spiritual or who I think that whatever gets you through this life, whatever makes you happy, whatever brings you joy, I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Well, also, I applaud and I often envy people who feel that kind of strong pull toward anything. That's awesome. Good on you. If that makes you sleep better at night and you feel that strongly, I admire passion in all forms, and spiritual passion is something I absolutely admire and celebrate in other people.
Yeah, we were talking today. Actually, I was chatting with my husband, and we were talking about they have a mass vaccination program that they're rolling out over here in the UK, and we're actually leading the world in the vaccination programs. And he said to me, and he was like, "Are we going to get the vaccine?" And I was like, I don't think I'm going to get the vaccine. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think it's, I've weighed up this and I weighed up this. And he was like, but what if they say we can't travel? And so we had this whole kind of ethical discussion over it. And we were chatting about, the vaccine and the different things about it and about whether we would or we wouldn't and the, the moral, ethical issue and all the deeper issues that I look at. And then I turned and I said to him, I said, what's really interesting? I said, is that we can even have this conversation. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, we are in such a position of privilege to even be able to decide, to even be able to have this conversation. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is one of the things that I guess upsets me or that I really would love to change about the world is just how deeply judgmental people are and how we allow this to affect our lives and how people allow it to affect their lives. I believe I'm a good human being at heart, and I make as many choices as I possibly can based on what is good, what is right, and what is true. And I fuck up and I make mistakes and I fail all the time. And I'm okay with that. But as long as my intent is good, I feel like I'm doing okay. And so, but I would not judge anyone who got the vaccination. I would not judge anyone who didn't. I wouldn't judge anyone who jumped, off a bloody cliff and someone who did, I'm kind of like a live and let live kind of person. But I think, do you agree that sometimes, or do you, maybe you talk about this in the book, I feel that we allow the world to pull us down a lot of times based on are constantly looking outside of ourselves. What's she doing? What's she not doing? She's not doing this and I'm doing this. And we spend a lot of our time looking outward instead of looking inward.
Totally.
Which is a huge barrier to feeling joyful and living a happy life and a purposeful life.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things that I talk about in the book. First of all, gratitude is the cure for FOMO, because if you appreciate what you have and you are grateful for your own life, it doesn't matter what anybody else has. that doesn't matter at all.
Just for those who don't know, FOMO is fear of missing out. You know, I only found that out about a month ago.
That's so funny. I guess it's such an American thing, but yes.
Maybe.
But if you think about it, like if you appreciate what you have, it absolutely doesn't matter what anybody else has, because you are grateful and grounded in what you have. The other thing I talk about in the book is high-fiving the haters. You are absolutely going to have critics. You are absolutely going to have judgmental assholes in your way. Guess what? That's about them. That's not about you. And if anything, if you can learn something for their criticism, great. If not, move forward. So if somebody's hating on me because of XYZ, and then I'm like, maybe there's a grain of truth of that. Maybe I could self-correct that, or maybe that is a moment for self-reflection. But if not, suck it, hater, right? I'm going to high five you and move forward, but I'm not going to get sucked down into your misery, because misery clearly loves company, and we can deeply be impacted by that negative energy if we let it in.
So it sounds like at the very essence of who you are and what you do is encouraging people, or certainly not even encouraging people, first of all, choosing to live a life yourself, which is very at cause, which is very, I choose my thoughts, I choose my actions, I choose my life, I choose what I surround myself with, and I move positively towards the things that I want for myself and away for things that I don't. Like, you seem to be a very truly at cause person, which, even though life does throw you curveballs and throws you hard stuff, which it does all the time, it's how you deal with that counts, rather than it's about, like I said, being proactive, not reactive. Like that's exactly a real sense of what I get from you when I speak to you. And that, it seems, is what you want for everybody.
It's what I want for everybody, because it's like, so I just had COVID. I had COVID, my 3 kids, my husband, my 7-year-old mom, and that sucks, right? Like, shitty things still happen to me. But when you have a fully charged toolkit, you move through them with grace. And it doesn't mean it's not hard, and it doesn't mean it doesn't suck, but you move through it with grace and optimism and even a little bit of joy. And it's not that hard. So like, what it looks like to live fully charged when something crap happens is simple. First of all, okay, I'm diagnosed with COVID. I let myself be scared. I'm asthmatic. I've had pneumonia. I've been in the hospital before. I'm scared. I'm pissed off. Whose fault is this? Like, was it because my husband went to the eye doctor? Is it my mom who was playing tennis? Like, whose freaking fault is this? This sucks. I'm pissed. I'm scared. I'm all the feelings, right? And I sit with that. And maybe I have a shower cry. I'm allowed to be upset. I have to acknowledge what sucks. Otherwise, you're toxically positive. You acknowledge that. But then, okay, how do I reframe this? How do I find purpose in this? If I can change my why me, woe is me to a why not me, then I can start to move forward. Well, why not me? I'm otherwise healthy. I've gotten through hard things before. I mean, it's a very good resilient trick, is flashing back to something you've done or overcome in the past. Okay, well, I've beaten pneumonia before. Wasn't fun, but I've done that. I'm a person who does hard things. Now, what's my purpose? Okay, maybe my job is to create a COVID recovery toolkit for other people, since I have access to great doctors. And maybe my mission is to speak loudly about this so that I destigmatize it for other people and other families who are embarrassed that they have it. Okay, I'm inching forward. And then I use all the other tools in my fully charged toolkit. I can't run, I can't exercise, but I can go outside. I picked up a lacrosse stick and started throwing lacrosse balls at a rebounder. And picked up lacrosse as part of my recovery, because I knew I needed movement. I knew I needed fresh air, but I couldn't do the things I normally did. I bought myself flowers. I had a friend FaceTime me from the grocery store in the flower department. And I'm like, okay, I want those and those and those. Please bring in my front porch. Love you, mean it. But it was, what are the other things that I can do to help, deal with this crap situation? And we got through it. We got through it with grace.
Yeah. Which is the difference between being a victim. It sounds like what you're saying is you can choose to be a victim of circumstance, or you can choose to be a producer and a causing agent in your own life.
Exactly.
And it's the simple decision to be a causing agent is actually, it's the joystick. It's the joystick. It's like the shift that you can make into.
But it is.
It's very much resonates with my own message and what I teach on this podcast. I'm always saying you are at cause. You are, you need to feel all the feelings, as you said, but still choose to move forward, be purposeful. And a joyful life is right within your grasp if you would just decide to have one.
And the cool part is that it gets easier with every positive action step and every positive choice, right? Like you change the neuroplasticity of your brain, you reroute it for positivity. I mean, I automatically have the silver lining thought. I automatically choose yay, as I like to say. And I don't work very hard at that anymore. I trained the same way I had to train for a marathon, and suddenly it wasn't that hard or impossible to run 26 miles. I trained to think more positively, to do more positively, and now I don't work at it. It's the same way like you brush your teeth and you probably don't angst over that habit. You just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the good thought, I do the positive action, and I don't angst about it. It's not a chore. It's not even that hard because I've rewired. And that's what I want to show people is that it is actually easier than you could ever imagine to live this way, and it feels really good. It makes hard things easier to deal with.
Do you know, it reminds me of a training program I took years ago, which was actually to do with NLP. And there was a whole module on it about being a producer and about, positivity. And they defined self-esteem as the number of possibilities a person perceives in any given situation. So they actually defined self-esteem. It's not feeling good about yourself or whatever. It's actually the number of possibilities you perceive in any given situation. And they had us do an exercise where they said, choose a situation or think of a situation in your life where you feel like you have very low self-esteem. You feel like you really don't have very many options to change this or this thing take something you're unhappy with. And it was a really amazing exercise because they said, write down all of the possibilities that you have to change this, whether or not you would choose them. So let's say one of the things was, well, I really want a new car, but I really don't feel like I have a lot of options. And then I think that was mine at the time. I was like 20 or something, I think. And so it was like really superficial. I want to go on vacation or I want like a car. And it was like, well, you could, one of them was, well, you could sell, you could go through and sell a lot of your clothes. You could, sell items in your house. You could work as a prostitute. You're like, well, I would never work as a prostitute. Well, it's an option. You could still choose it. Write it down if it's an option. Okay, it's an option. You could, so, you could get a second job. You could do this. You could do this. And suddenly I went from, oh my God, I don't, feel like I can never get a new car to, holy shit, I have 25 options to get a new car. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And it reminded me, whenever you said about your friend in the flower shop, it reminded me of that. You're like, I have COVID. I'm at home. I'm feeling shitty. What can I do to change my situation, to change my state?
I'm fascinated by that because I have very high self-esteem, but I think it's because I believe everything is always possible. And I think that there is like 932 solutions in every moment.
Well, there you are.
That must be why I like myself.
Yes. Well,
I thought it was just aging, but maybe that's what it is.
You probably wrote the goddamn module and you didn't even know it.
I didn't know it.
You didn't even know it. But I always loved it. And I loved it as an exercise. And so I teach it to my kids anytime they feel like they're suffering or they don't have a lot of, an options for especially if it's something that they want or whatever. And I'll say to them, why don't you write down all of the possibilities that you have, whether or not you would choose them, even if it's an option, write it down. And it really helps them to feel better, like they are more of a causing agent in their life. And I think that is what causes a lot of people to feel
I'm obsessed with this.
Upset, Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Well, it came from you. You inspired it.
Well, sometimes what happens is I'll live a certain way. So a lot of this in the book is I lived this way and then I went reverse engineered and looked at why does this work?
Right.
And looked at the science subsequently after moving through it instinctually. I had to go back and be like, okay, so why does Martin Seligman think that works? Why and how did I do that? And that's been really that was the fun of the research of the book. Like, this is why and how it works.
I love that. See, I'm that kind of person too. Whenever I was younger, I used to take everything apart to see how it was put together. And I'm the kind of person who goes, okay, I love this, but I need to know how, why, what, where, how much. I'm like, I need to know all the details because then I can explain it to someone else. I feel like I love to teach. And so I love to be able to really break something down into such an easy to understand way so that someone goes, oh, now I understand, because you truly want to affect change.
That's what it is, like, because that's what a magazine editor does. It's like, I am access to all the latest and greatest science and information and research, but my job is to translate that to the masses. And when it is translated well and it does stick, and one little tip makes a difference for someone, like, that is the secret sauce. Like, that is so energizing to me. Mm-hmm. It's like lightning bolts of of excitement.
Oh, I love it. What does the future hold for you, Meaghan? Where to from here? I can't believe we've been talking for nearly a full hour.
Oh my goodness.
Where to from
you.
here? What do you have a plan for the future? Are you a kind of fly by the seat of your pants girl?
I'm not a big, I would say this, I'm a goal getter, but I'm not a goal setter. I really very much am a person who practices being present, and I chase what excites me. Right now, I love making the magazine. I'm really excited about the book trajectory. I would love to do more coaching and, like in-person type of events and that kind of thing. Helping people live their best lives nothing brings me more joy or fills me up more than that. And I love that kind of hands-on, you couldn't go on a regular book tour during this time period. So not being able to connect with people about the book in person and do book signings and speaking engagements was a bummer. So I hope the future holds more of that for me. I have a podcast too. I do an Off the Ground podcast. I've got a lot of television stuff cooking. I don't know if you guys know like Live with Kelly and Ryan and the Today Show and those kind of, so I do a lot of that.
Well, most of my audience is 70% of them are in the USA. So they will know more of all those things than I will. I remember that from whenever we were at the event in New York. And I was like, I have no idea who Kelly and Ryan are. Dr. Oz, never heard of him. People are like, are you serious? You can't.
That's so
an
funny.
Event, like a media event to get more media, and you don't even know who these people are. It was quite fun for me. It was funny. But I think over here, obviously I live in Belfast. There's only like 600,000 people in Northern Ireland. No, 1.6 million people in Northern Ireland. That's all there is in the whole country in the north of Ireland. And I think there's like 6 million in total in the whole of Ireland. So it's like, we're tiny. There's like 6 million in Manhattan.
I haven't been in 10 years. The last time I was in Ireland was when my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law got married, and my daughter was 2 months old, and she was my first baby. And I'm like in the pubs with a baby Bjorn and my 2-month-old, and I'm like first time mom, and I'm like, I just don't know what to do.
Oh my God. Where did they get married in Ireland? Can you remember?
It was in
Kildare?
I think so. It was a castle.
Kildare Castle. Yeah.
Yes, Kildare Castle. That's right.
Yeah, that's actually not too far from me. So there you are.
If I ever make it back. It was so beautiful. It was a stressful time for me because I had a 2-month-old, but it's just such a beautiful country. And with a name like Meaghan Murphy, I am basically a leprechaun.
Of course. Absolutely.
People get excited like about St. Patrick's Day there. My whole house is exploding St. Patrick's Day right now. Like it's decorated every surface with like leprechauns.
Do you want to know the funny thing? It's actually a bigger holiday in America than it is in Ireland.
Right. Okay. That's what I had that sneaky suspicion.
Yeah, we do. No, we don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I was like, sometimes there's like a St. Patrick's Day parade, or there's, different towns will have different things, but like, it's like a normal working day here. It's not even like a holiday. Some people take it as a holiday. Yeah. Some schools are off, some schools are on. It just depends. It's not, but in America, I remember like, it's like
a big deal.
Yes, it's a huge deal. But you know what? That's what I love, because you guys, Americans are like so into like their celebrations and their celebratory days. And I think that's wonderful. I think we're so boring over here in Northern Ireland. We really are in the UK. We really are too stiff upper lip,
I think you should invent some holidays.
I should invent some holidays and then bring you over here to
run
them,
yes.
to get them going. Well, listen,
I'm moving to Ireland to create holidays.
Yeah, well, if we ever run events, which we do plan to in the States, in-person events, I will have you come and speak at one of my events.
I love that.
That would be great. Come speak on stage and educate people on how to live with purpose and passion and everything that you teach. Tell me, before we go, where can people, first of all, find you, and where is the best place to pick up a copy of the book? Because I know everyone is going to want to buy it after listening to this.
Thank you. So I'm pretty busy on Instagram at Meaghan B Murphy, Meaghan B Murphy.
Okay, spell it again. Meaghan. Very important.
Gaelic, right?
Don't spell it incorrectly.
All the letters.
She'll kill you.
B Murphy. And then, so the book is available wherever books are sold. I don't know what books, like, so in Ireland, I bet, do you like
Amazon? Is mostly
Amazon
where
a book?
We buy stuff, yeah.
And a lot of people have been doing the audiobook. The audiobook is me talking, and a lot of people have been working out with it. Yeah.
I love Audible. Honestly, I didn't even know it was on Audible, and I bought a
Yeah.
hard copy. So I'm definitely going to pick it up on Audible because we call it Automobile University. Zig Ziglar used to call it Automobile University. So I'm like, drive, and listen and walk and listen. And
That's
it's the best
a
way
lot
that
of
I
people
listen to
have said
things.
they listened to it and then they got the hard copy so they could take notes, but they did the Audible first.
Brilliant.
I was so excited. I was sick with COVID and almost had to have a narrator. And I was like, over my dead body, I am recording this audiobook.
I think it means so much more when you hear the author's voice, though, in an Audible book. I think that you really feel like you can connect to the person who
I think
wrote the
it
book.
was
There's a different type of passion.
I was like, there were moments when I cried and there were moments when I got choked up and like my voice cracks, but like it was a thrill to be able to do that.
I love that. I listened to Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, his first one. And it was written interesting because the whole last chapter was about his daughter, Michaela. Well, it wasn't about her, but she was like the main focus of it. And as he spoke about her and her journey and her illness and she's had like so many debilitating diseases. And she had like arthritis, chronic arthritis when she was like 3. She's had like, anyway, a lot of stuff. And as he spoke about her, she had, his voice broke and cracked and he cried. And I was like, like as a mother, and because I'd listened to the whole book and this was 12 chapters, the book was like 12 hours long. I reached out to Michaela actually afterwards on Instagram. I was like, I just listened to your dad's book. I love it. And she and I became really good friends. And we're actually now like best buddies. And we were WhatsApping each other the whole time he was ill. And now he's coming on the podcast next month.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I think
that.
I think whenever you narrate your own book on Audible and you allow that emotion to come through, I think it's a different experience for the listener. So well done for pushing through.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, because who's going to narrate it? Like, unless it's like Drew Barrymore or like, I'm like, none of that
Angelina
sounds good.
Jolie.
Yeah, maybe Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, okay, I'll give it up for Angelina, but nobody else.
Maybe, but that's really it.
Oh my God, Meaghan, I absolutely have adored chatting to you in person because we didn't really ever get a chance to properly chat whenever we met in New York, but we have stayed in contact obviously over Instagram, which has been lovely. But I really feel like I've gotten to know you a lot better, and definitely next, I haven't been back to New York since then because of COVID,
me either.
obviously. But
I haven't been into the city. I basically have been working from home now since last March. So it's been a year that I'm just working from home.
Well, let me tell you, when I come back, as soon as this opens, or as soon as everything opens again and the world is back to normality, I will come to New York and I will take you out for lunch and we will do a girls' lunch.
Yay!
And maybe
Oh my gosh, maybe a workout.
Well, can we have cocktails after?
Yes.
You're like, maybe a workout of maybe cocktails.
Yes. Well, I'm missing because like right now the gyms here still are not really open. So my workouts, I'm running again and my stupid Peloton. Like I miss workout buddies because we just don't have options right now.
I know. Thank God I have a gym at home. So
jealous.
Yeah, I know. And we're actually doing a full garage conversion into a proper full gym. So I don't ever have to go back to the gym again. So spending an absolute fortune getting it done. But you know what? It's time.
But that's
time
your
is
business,
so precious now. I have no time anymore. Like I'm running this massive worldwide company and I just have no time. So now I'm like trying to find little increments of time in different places throughout my day to get more done. But it's a great problem to have. What can I say? I can't complain. Meaghan, this has been awesome. We're going to link to the book in the show notes. We're going to link to the book in everywhere that we can link to it, on Instagram, in the show notes, on YouTube, wherever you guys are listening to this. It's going to be on YouTube, on iTunes, on Podbean, on at the website, everywhere else. They're also going to be able to find you on Instagram. Do you have a website or anything else we can link to?
I do. MeaghanBMurphy.com.
Great. So they can, and where's the best place if someone wants to reach out to you and tell you how much they loved it?
You can reach out on Instagram, DM me. I always try to answer all my DMs and there's a link to email as well. So you can always, if you wanted to pitch me or have ideas for the magazine or my podcast. Say how
awesome you are.
Yeah, or say hello. It's so nice to get like one of those virtual high fives. It really is.
Oh, I know. I love it. I get them all the time on Instagram and they still warm my heart every day.
It does. It just feels good. We need pats on the back.
We do. We just need to connect with people as well. You like to know how you've affected people. I think that when someone takes the time to tell you how you've affected them, I think it's wonderful. I'm like you. I always respond because I think it's awful to put something out there and to not have some kind of response.
I agree.
So I always respond. Meaghan, it has been a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much for spending your day with me, even with the vacuum cleaner and the dog and the kids. And I'm surprised something didn't happen here, like a crash or a truck or something.
And now all of a sudden it's quiet, right?
Yeah.
Of course it's quiet. That's Murphy's Law. Now it's quiet.
Always the way. Meaghan, thank you so much. We will send you links to the podcast whenever it goes live. We'll link to everything in the show notes. And congratulations on the book. I cannot wait to listen to it and read it. And I will be one of those people with my overachiever hat on, taking notes in the margins.
Yay!
And I'll share any amazing insights that I have with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meaghan. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Well, how much did you just love Meaghan? Wasn't she amazing? Oh my God, I just loved getting to know her better. We actually stayed on after the podcast there for about another 15 minutes and just chatted. We exchanged cell phone numbers. I just love her. She's such a like-minded soul. And I love meeting people in this life who are like me because, you know, life is about surrounding yourself with people who are on the same energetic vibration, who think the same, and, you know, who are just go-getters in this world. So if you ever want to lift yourself up, make sure that you surround yourself with people who, you know, are the kind of person you want to be and are doing the kind of things that you want to do. And just watch how your life changes as you lift your energetic vibration. So guys, don't forget to leave me a podcast review if you want to win one of our programs. Otherwise, I will speak to you next week for another episode of the Kim Constable podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all loads, and I will chat to you again next week. Bye for now.